All right, so now all our boards are cut. We've got a live edge on the front, we've got a live edge on the back, we've got nice 90s all the way through. And before you glue up, it's always a good idea to do a quick dry clamp. So I've just set these all out here. They're not quite clamped together yet. I just want to see how tight everything is, if there's any major gaps. I'm not trying to squeeze it really, really hard. Just like I was gonna be doing it if I was gluing it up. If you have to squeeze stuff really, really hard to get it right, you're probably not there yet in terms of how square your stuff is and if it's ready for glue up or not. Okay, so things are looking actually pretty good. Let me show you here what I'm looking for. So where these boards meet up, which is there's a joint right here, and you can see one in here as well. I'm looking for there not to be any gaps. You can tell there's a little bit of a height difference here, which is okay. Like this is in that area where I left some of the character. So it's actually not perfectly flat, but in these areas where it is perfectly flat, you can see that there's a nice joint. Right now, all I'm really looking for is, do I have tight joints all the way along? And in this case, I actually do have really nice tight joints all the way along. And then I'm looking at the outside here to see how tight the joints are. You know, like when I go and cut it afterwards, these boards aren't straight, but that's going to be a tight joint. And it's tight from top to bottom, which is a good indication that it's a tight from top to bottom all the way along. And that means I'm going to get over here, kind of the same thing. Like we've got really nice tight joints. I am going to flip it up. All right, so I flipped it over. And again, because, you know, it's all tight. Because this is all uniform, it's actually hard to tell, but there's a joint here. And there's a joint here, but it's nice and tight all the way along. I'm actually really happy with this. I'm ready to glue it up. I am going to use some biscuits though, right where this joint in this board is. The purpose and the principle behind biscuits, all that these guys do is they go in and help you line up your boards from the top to the bottom. So you go put your biscuit on, your joiner on, and you make a cut. And it's an equal distance cut from the top or the bottom of the board on both sides. So when you go to put those two boards together, that biscuit helps to line them up. I'm not really concerned about it for the rest of this. The biscuits don't help it to be a stronger joint. They don't make it any bit of a better. They don't make it last any longer. They're only to do that. And because this board is split here in the middle, and because I'm here gluing up by myself, I just want to have them here to sort of help me get them lined up. It's not that big of a deal. It's probably not even necessary, but I've got the tool and I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyways. So I've actually got the Makita cordless one. I like it. I'll have a description down below that shows this one if you wanna check it out. But really, again, there's a little tiny circular blade inside of here. There's a few different depths, the different size of the biscuits. You set the depth, you set the 90-degree angle, and you make the cut and put the biscuit in when you're gluing up. It's not like a super complex tool, but it uses the battery that all the rest of my tools use, so I have this one. So all I'm gonna do is line these boards up and just kind of make a line on both sides where I wanna put these. And I'm gonna put 4 in, 1 on each side. All right, so there you go. Glue up's all done. It's looking good. It's looking nice and straight. You can see I've got clamps on the bottom and clamps on the top. The clamps on the bottom will pull it in one direction. The clamps on the top will pull it in a different direction. That's to try and help it level all out. And on the ends here, I put these blocks and clamp against the pipes to just give it a little bit extra hold strength while it's setting up with the glue. I did use the Gorilla Type 2 glue. I actually like this stuff, it's really good. In most cases, the glue that you use is stronger than the wood, and so if something does break afterwards, it's going to be the wood. So I've used a bunch of different types of glues, but the Gorilla glue is nice. And I did use my finger to wipe this all on. It works just fine for me, I don't really care. It kind of cracks me up how bent out of shape some guys get when they see you using your finger, but I've always done it. I have used a few of those things once in a while, but yeah, I don't know, I still use my finger, I don't care. None of my stuff's falling apart, and the glue ups all work just fine. So now we'll let this baby set up, and we can build the base. Okay, so for the base of this bench, we're gonna do a pretty simple base. It's gonna have 4 legs in the corners and then kind of a skirter up that goes around the outside. We want the bench overall to be 70, I think I said 70 long. So we'll probably come in an inch all the way around to let it overhang a little bit. ultimately we want the bench to be 18 inches tall. So basically we need to cut these down to 16.5 inches. I've got two different pieces here. This one's already about 4x4 or 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. I didn't have two of those, but I have this one that's like 7 by 3 3/4. So I'm gonna cut it down to match that, take it over to the planer, and we'll square everything up. And then we're gonna basically end up cutting some rabbets or some rebates to fit our skirter on the top. Okay, so with these legs, what I'm going to actually end up doing is I'll join two sides of them, and then I'll use those two sides to run through the planer and square everything up. I do like working with square-ish wood, so we'll basically do one side like this, then I'll push that side against the face and do a second side, which means I'll have one 90 degree. And then on the planer side, I'm laying down two parallel sides to the ones that I already cut, and essentially giving me 4 90-degree angles and a nice square block to work with. Okay, moving right along. These ones are all nice and square now. You're probably wondering why I'm squaring them up so much and taking off all the character. These ones in the bottom are going to get painted. It's going to be a whitewash base, so they're getting stained and painted anyways. But I'm not taking everything off. Like you can still see like these corners I left. There's the cracks and stuff. Yeah, the saw blade and marks and everything are gone, but the objective is to stain these and then sort of rub them a bit and make them look kind of antique. But when they are super square like this, they are a whole lot easier to work with. Same thing with these 2x4s. You're probably thinking, holy crap, man, you took everything off. That's just a garden variety 2x4 now. True story. But these ones weren't really, when it comes to barnwood, if it doesn't have any saw marks on it, like if it had gone through the planer or it was really smooth wood to start off with, yeah, it's old, but it doesn't really have any of the defining saw marks. And these were interior boards, like they were inside of a building, so they didn't have a lot of the weathering on it anyways. Still nice wood. It's like really cool. It's old growth, so it's kind of a deeper color. This is actually Douglas fir. In any event, what we're gonna do right now is a pretty simple, there's gonna be a skirt that goes around joined on miters. It's gonna go around the whole outside of these legs. I'm gonna set that one right there, right flush with the top. I'm gonna mark that out along the bottom. I'm gonna do that actually on two sides. And I'm also gonna mark on the top from the, I'm gonna line it up across the top and the thickness. All these 2x4s are now the exact same thickness. Fix that out, and right above the other line that I did, just like that. So what we're gonna end up cutting out is basically all of this, all of this, all of this, all of this, and then there's basically gonna be like that L right there. And when I go and join those on a 45, that's gonna sit right down on top, and then we can glue and screw and mount that. It makes for a real solid base. Easy way. There's a couple ways of doing it now. You can use your old cool Japanese saws, do it like a Pioneer and saw through. I've got a resaw or a bandsaw that we can use. You can be really gentle with your skill saw and then chisel out afterwards, or your table saw. And I'm gonna use the table saw just because those spinning blades makes a pretty nice cut, nice and smooth with not too much cleanup afterwards. If you use the bandsaw, it does wave and move a little bit, so you have to come and clean up. These are pretty good, and they're fun to use if you got the time. Actually, I picked these up on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. I like them. They're fun to use. Anyway, let's go to the table saw. Okay, so I've really only got two kinds of cuts to make. One is going to be up vertically into it, and the second one then is going to be to cut off the horizontal piece or whatever. So off of my mark, I know that my slide is square. I know that this one's 90. And so I'm gonna come and just find where it just hits on the edge of that line. And then I'm gonna set this one here. So then I can just rotate the board and come back and cut and make repeat cuts across all the blocks. So we've made our first two cuts. It's right up to the line, and then all we have to do is basically cut those ones off, and then we'll have our two pieces. Or I guess that's gonna be three pieces missing, and this one's left, and the 2x4s just sit in like this. Okay, and then now I'll come back to the one that I had marked out. I only marked out one of these. This saw right back, then I should be able to butt against it and push through, and that should just cut right down that line. And then just make sure you're cutting down the right area, and then that'll come right off, just nice and square. So we want to set the blade height to be as high as the last cut. Right about there, it'll meet up right in the corner. There. Now we've got that cut out, so the 2x4s can sit right on top, and we've got something nice to fasten to. I usually actually come through from the back side so you can't see the screws from the front side.